Thank you for joining UnSCRIPted. I'm Angela Kashuba, Dean of the UNC Eshelman School of Pharmacy. We have an amazing community here at the school, all working toward a shared goal of solving the world's most pressing healthcare challenges. I'm excited for you to hear unscripted stories of faculty, staff, students, alums, and partners. Today, I have invited Henry Dieckhaus to my office for a conversation. Henry is a second-year graduate student and president of our graduate student organization. Welcome, Henry, and thank you for joining me today.
Thanks for having me. Excited to be here.
So tell me about your journey to the PhD program and to UNC.
So I went to college in Boston, and I studied chemistry, and I sort of went in with the expectation of I would go to graduate school and become a researcher. But once I got there, it was pretty clear I did not know what I wanted to do with that. I didn't know exactly what I wanted to study. And so I bounced around to a lot of different things. And sort of the light bulb moment for me was my senior year. I had an internship at Vertex Pharmaceuticals, and I was very interested in using the scientific tools that I was learning to make an impact on patient health and on new advances in drug discovery. And looking at the programs at UNC and what they're focused on, it seemed like a really unique combination of research rigor with that sort of focus on therapeutics and making a difference in the clinic. So here I am.
Yeah. So that translational aspect was particularly interesting to you.
Absolutely. Yeah. It was. So when I graduated, it was in the spring of 2020, which was an interesting time to graduate college.
Yes.
And I ended up doing a post-bac fellowship at the NIH. And I spent 2 years doing image analysis for MRIs. And it was really eye-opening for me because there were people on my team who were interfacing directly with patients and taking them for scans and dealing with their care. And that really connected with me, sort of being that close to sort of having a clinical impact on people. When it came time to look for graduate programs, that was a big part of what I looked for was places and research programs that sort of had that direct translational set of applications in mind for the kind of work that they do, so that you're not just sort of siloed in the research mindset, but you're thinking about how is this going to be useful and how is this going to help people.
Right. So tell me about the lab that you're working in now and your thesis that you're developing.
Sure. So I work in the lab of Dr. Brian Coleman, who's a faculty member in the School of Medicine. And we work in a field called protein design. So protein design is focused on coming up with new sort of from scratch proteins that we can then use for a variety of different purposes. So proteins are some of the most biologically useful, adaptable, tunable molecules that we have in our bodies. They do tons of different things. And so there's a great interest in trying to use proteins to do things like target cancer cells or help mediate the immune response. And my lab is sort of a hybrid computational but also experimental lab that develops techniques to design these proteins, and then we go and test them experimentally and see, if we can get novel therapeutics that way and other things like biosensors and nanotechnology.
Yeah, very cool. So tell me about what you hope to accomplish in your thesis.
My thesis is focused on AI methods for stabilizing proteins. So one thing about natural proteins is that they aren't necessarily all that stable. And this can be a problem because when a protein sort of destabilizes or unfolds, it no longer works. And this would not be a good thing to happen to a therapeutic in your body or to, say, a catalyst that you want to use in a big industrial facility. And so my work has been focused on using computational methods, including machine learning, to identify ways to stabilize proteins so that they can be used more effectively.
So how do you see AI, we talk a lot about AI now and how it's going to revolutionize just about everything. So, how do you see AI changing or revolutionizing drug discovery and development?
One of the big AI success stories in science in the last 5 or 10 years has been AlphaFold, which is an AI technique that is able to predict the structure of a protein given just its sequence. And so the way that that was made was basically over the course of decades, scientists put together a huge database of all the proteins that they had characterized the structure of over time. And then researchers came along and taught an AI model to associate the sequence and the structure and figure out how those two things are connected. And by showing it enough examples, enough times with a lot of really clever math and computer science, they were able to come up with a model that does a pretty good job if you give it a new sequence of predicting what that structure is supposed to look like. So we've sort of taken that as a sign that there are a lot of other tasks that AI could be really useful for in this space because it's generally pretty well constrained. So you have if you have a really good idea of the problem that you want to solve,
right,
and especially if you have enough data to teach an AI model to do it, really the sky's the limit at the moment. So it's a very exciting time to be a computational researcher at the moment.
right.
And I think we're still grappling with how best to implement some of these things, but it's definitely been very encouraging so far.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it sounds like you're right at the cutting edge of research, and so I really look forward to seeing your dissertation progress. You are our graduate student organization president, and I'd like you to talk a little bit about leadership as a student and what propelled you to be a leader for the graduate students and how your experience has been.
I think one of the things that first attracted me to UNC was that sense of community. I definitely felt a desire to help continue that momentum, and I think that I recognize that that's something that takes conscious effort to maintain. I think that there's a lot of different ways that people can contribute to that, so it doesn't necessarily have to be through leadership. It could also be through just participation and sort of engaging with the community.
Well, I love that because we're trying to foster more community and connection, particularly post-COVID. One final question for you, and that is you're juggling a lot of things. You're in the laboratory, you have a leadership position. Do you have time for yourself, number one? And what do you do when you have time for yourself?
Sure. Yeah, when I have some time for myself, I spend a lot of time hiking. So North Carolina is a great place for that.
Yeah.
There's a lot of different sort of places to explore. You've got the coast a couple hours away. You've got the mountains a couple hours away. So I've definitely enjoyed being in this part of the country. Apart from that, I do a lot of cooking. We recently had a GSO bake-off. So I baked some cookies for that. And I'm trying to step up my baking game for sure.
Okay.
But I also participate in some other things on campus. So, for example, the North Carolina DNA Day is an outreach organization, and I write for their blog.
That's terrific.
So I've been interested in scientific communication, and that's been one arena where I've been able to do that a bit more as well.
Oh, I love that.
So trying to just sort of do a little bit of everything as much as I can.
No, that's terrific. So the DNA Day, is that geared towards a particular group? Is that high school students or middle school students? Or tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, so the DNA Day, or the original DNA Day event which is still going on, is I believe geared at mostly high school students.
Okay.
And they go to schools and do some interactive lessons and engage with students, and the blog is sort of designed to support that. And so we write articles about different topics in science, so things like CRISPR or PCR, and it's really geared toward a high school and middle school audience, and sort of the intention being that these are resources that students can use if they're confused about a topic, or teachers can use as part of their lessons if they find it useful.
I love that outreach. That's tremendous. So tell me your favorite hike in North Carolina so far.
I think Callaway Mountain, Callaway Peak. I don't remember which one it is, but out by the Great Smoky Mountains National Park sort of area. There's it's one of those hikes where you have to climb up a ladder.
Oh my goodness.
Scramble over rocks and stuff.
Okay.
So it's a bit of a commitment, but it's definitely well worth it.
So you're an adventurous hiker.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, that's tremendous. Henry, thanks for spending some time with me today. This was really a joy to talk to you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. And thank you for watching. We love sharing stories of those who make the UNC Eshelman School of Pharmacy excellent. We hope you will join us for the next episode of UnSCRIPted, conversations with people who are advancing medicine for life.